My name is Alex Jolly. I've been vegan since 2022, and my why is one night I was eating chicken's wings with my wife, and I took one bite and thought, what would I do if someone bit into my daughter the way I'm biting into this? And for me, that was it. And so overnight, the next day we were half vegetarian because we did have some cheese or something, but that night I was on YouTube and really diving in and like trying to understand how I felt. Stumbled into some videos like Gary Yavovsky and some other just very descriptive, very in your face, like this is why it's wrong. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm cool with it. And so then it was the transition for the whole house coming up, which was quite the ordeal, but it was fun. So
tell me a little more about the why, because surely there had to be more to it than just that chicken leg or wing.
My why is I was going through my own mental health journey at the time and kind of in the space of very positive thinking, trying to journey and figure out how I can best help myself with some mental struggles that I had because I just closed down a business and life was kind of crazy. On a few of the posts that I had was reading, people were talking about karma in relation to how they view their mental health. And somebody on some random post that did nothing to do with what they were eating said, if you eat animals, then how can you talk about karma or something like that? It was just like, that was the very start of it. It was a comment on a Reddit post that was like, well, what does that even mean? Like, as I was reading more, I would see kind of some more things pop up. And one night, again, I was, me and my wife, my oldest, who was not vegan since birth, but vegan since she could eat, she was at my mom's house for the night. So me and my wife were planning on ordering food and watching movies in the living room and having a good night. And we ordered a bunch of chicken wings. As soon as they got there, we were really excited to eat together. And I took one bite out of the first one and had a very bad experience. And just like everything kind of come together. And I genuinely had this feeling of like, what if someone had bit into my child like that? How would that make me feel? And since that moment, I haven't had any meat at all. The next day, I started researching how I felt about what happened, so why I felt such a aversion to it. And then I needed to understand, well, am I vegetarian? But then I read stuff about dairy, and I was like, oh, this is even worse almost, and it is. And so then I was like, well, let me cut that out too. And I started just stepping through the arguments, and I was like, okay, well, this tracks pretty much all the way for me. And then that's the why. I kind of stuck to it at that point.
Did you eat any more chicken that night?
No. I handled that moment very poorly, especially to my wife. I actually even made her stop eating. I was not in a good space in that moment. I really had it really connected to me very strongly. And I was like, I cried even and stuff. It wasn't a good night. We did not finish the food.
Wow. So it sounds like you got excited, everybody was excited, and suddenly it just turned on.
Well, the excitement it didn't even occur to me that it was going to happen until it happened. Yeah. And it was just seeds. And then for me, it just kind of connected all of a sudden. Yeah. We were watching, the show we were watching was Next Level Chef, which I used to love cooking battle shows where, the different chefs are battling each other. But, and I was really excited to watch it. I couldn't even watch that as we were like, I don't even know what we ate that night, if anything. But like I did a complete transition of the kitchen, which we were very blessed to have the means to do so. But I could not, I had a very strong.
Let's go a little further back. Do you remember any time when you were a child, like any time where you maybe saw an animal get hurt or killed or anything like that?
Yes, I have. I've watched a few of the videos of yours before this, so I have a few things that came to mind. One, I think that came to mind first was we used to have a pet snake at my dad's house, and so we used to have to feed it the mice, and we'd buy the mice at the same pet store that they would sell everything else at, but we were buying mice to go feed our snake. While other people are like buying pet mice. I didn't understand feed mice and this whole concept of all this thing. But I remember having to watch my dad kill the mice for the first time. And that memory sticks out.
He had to kill it before he fed it to the snake?
Yeah, because
he had to hurt the snake.
Yeah. In the wild, all fair in war, but in a cage, you got to kill the mice first. And then another story from my childhood is when I was in elementary school, my older sister was in middle school, and she came home wanting to be a vegetarian. And we had this thing in our house where the kids, as we learned how to cook, we were in charge of a meal one night a week or one night every other week, something like that. And it was her night, and her night was barbecue chicken. And they actually made her cook everything, even though she said she wasn't going to eat it and wanted to be vegetarian, all this stuff. And growing up, I remember me and my older brother sitting at the kitchen table, like laughing and probably even making fun of her for that. But that would suck if I had to have also gone through. I've actually apologized to her since. And I don't think she even was like, what are you talking about? But I was like, I couldn't imagine if I wanted to try and go vegan in middle school and had to cook barbecue chicken, that would have sucked.
Yeah, no doubt. Is there anything that comes to mind as to why you might not have had this epiphany earlier?
Just Southern raised. It never occurred to me. It occurred to me that treating animals poorly was bad. I actually had a vegetarian friend in high school. This actually just came to my head. He read a book called Slaughterhouse-Five, and that's what caused him to go vegetarian. I haven't read that book since, but I remember him talking to me about it. And the excerpt that made him read it was actually like a 1920s description of how they canned meat at the time. And it was presented in the book exactly how it was. And I remember reading that and was like, oh, that's crazy. There's no way they do that now. And then it's pretty similar description, if I remember correctly, of what happens nowadays. That's a memory I had. But as far as like hard moments of like even confronting a known vegan, I don't think I ever had any sort of back and forth with somebody online, or I could be wrong. I did play tennis with someone who I found out after the fact was vegan, but I don't know if they were vegan when I played. So
yeah, so I guess
I didn't know, but like
I guess just not being aware or having anything.
Yeah, I mean,
to trigger it.
I was aware enough of how the food got to the plate in the sense of like I know animals were raised, I know they go to a slaughterhouse, I know the packaging happens. Like I understand those things. But I don't think I emotionally considered the toll of what each being goes through in that process. Is what that connection to me, I think, is what really set it for me.
Yeah. So I guess it sounds like you're first and foremost ethical vegan. Is it much health for you at all?
Yeah. So this is the best part, right? I went ethical vegan overnight. The next day, I'm reading all these things. Now, I hadn't found the places to where I found my trusted sources. Some YouTubers, some Dr. Bernard is one that, and a lot of people that I trust now, I was finding these. And so a lot of those places I started where it was like a vegan hook, and then it was like anti-vegan video of why it's unhealthy and like people's fingernails falling out. I'm like, I know people do this. So I know that there's a right way to do this. So I just got to figure it out like in a week before people start going hungry in my house or something. So the discovery of trying to figure out how to keep my daughter healthy, because that was my next concern. So the ethical was right away. Health, keeping my daughter healthy. There's a lot of boundaries I'm going to cross to protect my family, especially my daughters, and making sure they have a very healthy life and happy life. I found out rather quickly they can do that on a vegan diet and was like, oh, I'm sold. I found out that they have kids that they have found the precursor to atherosclerosis in their arteries. 10-year-olds. And it's like, this kills people. And that's in these, like, I don't know. Anyway.
You start kids out on a low saturated fat diet, and you may see a significant improvement in their arterial function by 11 years old. Exposure to high serum cholesterol, even in childhood, may accelerate the development of atherosclerosis. Consequently, the long-term prevention of atherosclerosis might be most effective when initiated early in life, as in 7 months of age. Atherosclerosis, hardening of the arteries, begins in childhood. Remember, by age 10, nearly all kids have fatty streaks, the first stage of the disease. Then, the plaques start forming in our 20s and get worse in our 30s, and then can start killing us off.
I found all that out, and I was like, oh, okay, sold on the health side. And then that led to, at this point, I'd heard about the environmental pillar and everything. And then I watched Cowspiracy. I know I'm getting a little, expanding a little bit. Watched Cowspiracy and really understanding the environmental impact. And then looking at my daughter who, was sleeping in her room or whatever as I'm watching this movie, is like, she's got to inherit the earth in 30 years when when I'm said and done, in the sense of like the decisions I can make have had their effect. So what am I doing about it? And then I was like, well, I'm very thankful I stumbled into it for the animals, but I feel very confident any of the 3 pillars of veganism would keep me staying. Environmental is second most important to me now, and probably I think the most actionable when it comes to what I want to do as far as how I want to live my life as a vegan. I think it has the most impact widespread. But yeah, I don't know, to answer your question.
That's good stuff. Yeah, that's good stuff. How do you deal with like the manly side of eating meat?
Can I cuss on this?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I was in the Marine Corps for 5 years. I grew up in Alabama, joined the Marine Corps. My parents told me, my dad usually is the one that told me this, by the time you turn 18, you need to have a job and be out the house, because after you turn 18, you don't have a place to stay. I was like, bet. I turned 18 in boot camp. All right, I did my enlistment. I came out. I started a family. I successfully started a family. Like we're doing our thing. We're loving life. Anybody who tries to tell me that I'm doing something not manly, first of all, I just don't give a fuck about their opinion. If that's your measurement, then we're already off base, because I don't care. Secondly, what are you talking about? What is it? Show me, and then we'll talk. The argument holds no water, to me. It doesn't make sense, but
no doubt.
Even if you go down the scientific route, I don't think it's backed up. So.
Well, what about those who say you're brainwashing your kids?
I hope I am. I hope she's going to make a difference. I hope she fucking doesn't to point our planet towards what's happening right now with runoffs. Like there's an algae bloom happening concurrently right now in our Atlantic Ocean, and it's getting worse and worse every year. And like these crazy things that are happening because of all the runoff from the Mississippi, all the farms throughout the whole heartland of America running off into the Gulf. Gives all this algae extra nutrition, algae blooms, they kill everything else. Mm-hmm. Like, why are we doing that as a society? So I hope I am brainwashing my kid in that sense. She is very critical, so I'm happy so far with that. I'm sure we're going to get much more into that, which I'm very excited to. But she's not brainwashed. She is, I think she's sure of where she's at right now, though.
So if for some reason you had this thought, like say a doctor says, your daughter really needs to be consuming some animal. How would you deal with that?
Yeah, so I'll actually give you, so when my wife was pregnant with our second daughter, mm-hmm. My oldest daughter, her name is Leona. She's turning 4 in next week? 2 weeks from now? She turns 4. My youngest turned 7 months also this month. When my wife was pregnant with our youngest, we were vegan. We were in the doctor's office, the first time we ever met with this specific doctor, and he sat us down, real like knee-to-knee type conversation, and said, because apparently in our chart it says vegan, right? And so...
Warning.
Yeah, right? Like, I mean, it's like the first thing. Like my wife had a troubling first birth experience, and you would think some of that is going to be first, but literally the first thing is vegan diet. Wow. And or at least in this system. Yeah. And he showed it to us, but he sat us down like knee to knee, and he was like, if you could talk to a cow and you told a cow, my baby really needs some of your milk, what do you think the cow would say? And I'm in the office. I was not ready for this question, but I was like, well, I think the cow would say that it needs its milk for its own baby, and that we might have other options. And he looked at me, and I think he realized that we weren't going to budge on that front. And then he brought up something about amino acids, and then I just expanded upon amino acids from all the stuff that I learned from those first few weeks of like, am I killing my daughter by feeding her this diet? Like, that's what people are telling me. He kind of realized that I at least knew more than maybe what he feared, I think is where his sensibility came from. He really relaxed off the whole vegan thing the rest of our conversations, because my wife's bloods were good. She was taking her supplement properly, like the prenatal and other things that were recommended.
Which
like
all pregnant women should probably.
Exactly, yeah. Like as far as I'm concerned, like if so there are things like, am I checking my medicine to see if the capsules have gelatin in them? I haven't got there yet, but like we're gonna do what we can. And again, if it comes to protecting my family, there's some boundaries. I'm definitely willing to shift a little bit, but I don't need to do it, so don't need to. This is nice. Usually I like to get my friends like this and just bombard them with stuff.
Yeah.
No, we're kidding.
So do you feel like for a fact this is absolutely the healthiest way to raise both of your daughters?
I do believe that. I think that as long as we continue to eat a varied diet and that I am staying practiced in the kitchen and food's tasting good and they're eating healthy amounts of things. And now we do eat some junk food, vegan food, right? Or like processed mock meats, things like that. Primarily, our youngest daughter is not eating anything right now. But our oldest daughter is primarily, we're really trying to keep her mostly like plant-based more often than not. I would say genuinely she's probably like 80% plant-based. She really loves
like
snacking
whole
on,
food?
yeah, whole foods, veggies, fruits, things like that. She loves fruit, but
For the sake of this question specifically, do you feel like it's the most protective way to raise your children, both health-wise and for their physical health and mental health?
yes, physical health, absolutely. I think that you're just shuffling your deck a little bit better. From my understanding, which is all second, third, fourth hand of genes and how they work, it seems like we can affect which genes turn on and off by our environment. And if we can affect our environment to keep our bodies healthy and not trigger certain genes, you're just going to be set up better. Not to mention the atherosclerosis that I mentioned earlier and other like prediabetes markers, all these things that we know come from our food. And not all of them come from solely animal products, but animal products have an insane role in all of those things as far as I'm aware. And I do not want my daughter to consume those things for those reasons, besides the fact of the cruelty to animals and all those things. So as far as physically, yes. Mentally, I think that there's definitely some challenges that she's going to have that I didn't, because I didn't grow up this way. But we really go out of our way to do the most that those challenges don't happen yet. So like whenever we go to birthday parties, we call ahead with the parents and are like, hey, what kind of cupcakes are y'all having and snacks? And so like we'll make our own cupcakes or go buy them from Whole Foods or something. So that way she's not like, she still plays with her friends. She eats lunches with her friends. She just knows that she likes her food and that she doesn't eat vegan food, and she'll ask people if their food is vegan, and it's pretty fun. But as mental health wise, I hope she doesn't have too many struggles, but I don't know. But I don't think that I'm setting her up for a lifelong debilitating struggle, because I feel pretty fine as an adult vegan. So I'm feeling okay about it as far as the mental health side goes.
So at what age do you think you might start explaining like how, what other people are doing?
Well, we've already jumped in that. So when she knows that meat comes from animals, she knows about, and we didn't ever like lead any of these conversations except when she asked. So I think it started out with like around my mom and my wife's mom's house, like things, whatever they would eat that weren't vegan. Or sometimes even my mom was pretty good at it of like saying, no, she can't have it. And the explanation would at first be it's not vegan, just to kind of help out. And then as she could understand, when she could actually say, well, why? Like what is all that stuff? I just told her like, that's made from animals, and mommy and daddy choose not to eat animals because we don't think it's okay. And then just kind of sat in silence with the 3.5-year-old or 3-year-old, however old she was at the time. And she just kind of is like, okay, and eats her food, and that's kind of it. Now she'll come home talking about how like so-and-so shared food at school, but we don't share food. And I'm like, well, you can give somebody some food if they ask for it, but you might want to ask what you get back, kind of thing. And she's like, well, I don't share food. So it's just funny, because it's like she's learning everything, and I think that she's understanding certain parts of the concepts, but she's also 4, so like she's like, I don't want to share my food with them anyway. But it's fun.
And is there a plan maybe in place to help them understand the ethical side of this a little more? Maybe like taking them to sanctuaries. Do you read certain books?
Oh yeah, we have. So we've done a few trips to sanctuary, Piedmont Animal Farms out in Raleigh. We have one here in Wilmington, and my wife and my daughter, my oldest, have gone. I actually haven't been yet. We want to go to pretty soon. And we've done some other things with the refugees or with vegan within
Festivals?
the Veg Fest. She was there for a few hours at the Veg Fest, which was awesome. She showed up when I did the booth at Earth Day. So within our community, we have a Wilmington vegan group. And we did a booth at Earth Day the day before Veg Fest, and she spent a few hours with me at the Earth Day booth as well, where we were just telling people about what type of effect a vegan diet can have on the environment. She was underneath the tent the whole time, snacking on whatever we had prepared that day for her, but she had a good time of it.
And so sanctuaries, events, is there any kind of reading material you do at night with her? Or
Specifically with the books, not so much. We do have, I think, a book, What Do Vegan Kids Eat? Which is just a fun, like, it goes through a bunch of holidays, like a sick kid, what a sick kid would eat, like soups and stuff. She likes that book, but we're pretty, the ethical things kind of come up as they happen. Mm-hmm. So like sometimes we'll be watching a show together and someone will be riding a horse and I'll just kind of say like, oh, do you think they asked the horse if they could ride him? And I'll kind of just leave it at that and not really expand upon it. She totally gets it with fishing now because she was talking about wanting to go fishing. And I was just like, well, I explained to her that a fishing, like you have to have a hook and that it goes through a fish's mouth. Mm-hmm. And she was like, well, let's pretend fish. And I was like, let's pretend fish. Like, so I think that she doesn't want to hurt animals. Mm-hmm. And I think that she gets that. And she just needs to know, hey, these activities hurt animals and we just don't have to do them. We can do other things. I think that's the key is if they do get into something or focused on something like fishing. She said that, I was like, what the heck? You can't say that. I don't know what to say.
Now, as far as like fostering their independence, kids get to a certain age where they want to be more independent. And you, of course, are going to want to encourage that. But at the same time, you can only hope that they're going to still do this when they get older. How do you have a plan to kind of tackle that?
I think that the key word you said is hope. I think that I value, so we also raise my wife's brother who's 17. So he lives with us. She's had custody of him since he was 9. I've been in the picture since he was 11. So he's been with us through the transition. Our house is vegan. I don't like I made my brother leave a pizza on the porch before and like food I'm like, leave that shit on the porch. I don't care. I am generous with people who don't know that the first time type thing, but everything in our house is vegan. I'm not going to allow her to start bringing vegan products home still. But if she's out with her friends and she has her own money and things like that, she's got her own, we want to raise an individual. I hope that she values veganism throughout her life. I think that it's only natural that there's rebellion at some point, but I hope that there's not I don't hope it's something that comes from some source of rebellion. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's more so like an exploratory thing if she ever does something, but I don't know. We're just going to play that by ear, honestly.
Well, rest assured, there's a lot of lifelong vegans that I've met who are our age and even significantly older.
Yeah, and also like people that I've heard that they just would never wanted to. Like I remember Nimal Delgado, the bodybuilder, he was one that I stumbled across pretty early. And in his story, he talks about like, I never had meat ever. Because by the time he was old enough to realize that it was bad, he was also old enough to just like realize it was bad and not
and be glad he never did.
Yeah. And so like he talks about being in school and people taunting him essentially with meat right in front of him. He's like it was gross then because of my. So I'm kind of hoping for her.
How might you handle that if you hear somebody's been taunting your daughters?
It depends on how old she is. My reaction, I would think, if it is young kids being young kids, it's very conversation with her, see what we can get to. I don't know, as it gets older, it makes me more angry.
Yeah.
If it's a teenage thing, I'm like showing up like, you better not.
Right on. Do you think you could be with somebody who isn't vegan?
No, I'm very glad that. So first of all, my wife, I want to give her a huge shout out because when I tell you, I said it earlier, I was not nice to my wife the night that I had this. I was not nice to myself, so I could not have been nice to her through this. Mm-hmm. But that night, I wasn't like brutal or like yelling or anything like that. I just said hurtful things about eating meat, that like things I was feeling about myself. But she's also was eating right next to me. So like it was not, I didn't handle that whole moment well. She was with it from the beginning. And I think as she'll tell, she didn't understand a lot of it from the beginning, but she supported me through the change. And now she's fully with me. She supports me through my endeavors of like, right now she's skipping work so I can be here at this interview watching the youngest. Wow. I thought I was going to come here with the baby and just hope that, she was going to be, she's home right now and doing that, but she supports me. And like, I'm a stay-at-home dad and I'm starting to do some vegan activism, and this thing is happening. So like she's supported me so much through all that. It's been amazing. I don't think I'll ever leave my wife, ideally. But I would not choose somebody who, I think that's too, I don't think I could get past that. It's too important of a ideal for me to look past.
Yeah, no doubt. So do you think you could have done this without her support?
No. I probably would have, I was committed. When I say I couldn't have done it, I could not have done the whole family swap and getting to where we are now without her support. Yeah. I feel like I could have stuck to veganism. I might have struggled a lot, or in moments with family, slipped and not been quite as consistent as I have been. But I think that it would have at least stuck with me, if not been a vegan, then probably somewhere along the scale of less animal products than I had been eating. Ideally, I would like to think, but without my wife, I don't know where I'd be right now.
Because I've got some friends that are like, they blame it on the significant other. They say, I could probably pull that off if the other one would do it. As if, they can't be accountable for their own actions. Yeah, no, I don't get it. My wife was raised very different than me, so she was open. Like, she grew up eating a lot more of her meals were veggies and fruits and things than me. Like, matter of fact, when one of the first times I came home after we got married, she cooked tofu, and I told her it smelled like cat piss. And now, mind you, I was like, give me a steak, I'm not gonna eat tofu. I did used to think that like the question earlier about it's not manly to be vegan. Yeah. I used to be the complete opposite of that. And like, I need a steak at least once a week, and like, I need meat for every meal and all that stuff. You mean the complete opposite of this?
Yes, the complete opposite of this. And so like the first time she cooked tofu, I told her it smelled like cat piss. I have no idea where that was coming from. It doesn't. I cook tofu all the time. The smell it doesn't, I don't know. Maybe I just smelled cat piss, and we had a cat at the time. So maybe that was it.
So like what kind of stuff do you like to do besides being vegan?
Yeah, being a father and a husband, top two. I think I have a TikTok that I ideally would like to make some content on, and I think it says husband, father, vegan. Mm-hmm. So I consider those my big things. So playing with my children is great. I'm building, currently it's taken me too long to build, honestly. I'm building a mud kitchen for my daughter for the backyard, which is just like a small little kitchen that she can just go mix dirt and water and make all these kind of recipes and
make vegan food.
Yeah, exactly. And
that's
so I actually got to finish painting it, but these past weeks have been ridiculous. I like to play video games in my own time, which is very fleeting. After my wife falls asleep and my youngest falls asleep, I might get an hour or two on the PlayStation.
You bowl too, right?
I bowl, yes. Monday nights, I go out there, and that's the most bloodthirsty I get all week. And I try and leave nothing out there. I try and take everything and leave nothing behind. I'm not that good, though, so it doesn't usually happen. But when I get that good, they're going to know me. They're going to know me.
So you're far more than just a vegan. You got quite a few other little things going on.
I like to think so. One of my passions lately, I think I'm definitely more than a vegan, but veganism means so much to me that it affects a lot of the things I do, all the things I do. One, because all the things I do, like I like to golf too, but I'm not going out and buying leather gloves or certain things. I'm trying to be mindful about and get what I get and everything. But anyway, one of the things I want to do coming up is start, with some help, is start a Foods Not Bombs chapter locally. Oh, nice. And although the method is using vegan food, my ambition isn't to use it as just a vehicle for speaking on veganism. I think it can be used, as it alludes to on their website, to speak about a lot more things, both veganism and things like anti-houselessness or anti-war, that type of stuff.
Yeah, so for people watching, tell them what Food Not Bombs is.
As I understand it, which I'm very early in the process of trying to start all this, Food Not Bombs is an organization, a decentralized organization, where each chapter kind of represents their own interest and goals. And what they do is they essentially feed people for free, mostly vegan food, or they say vegetarian on their website, but they explain that that's because they accept all bread and they're just not going to go through the bread like that. You make this food for people, but the point of it isn't to use the food to just feed hungry people, which is obviously the point of making the food, but also to, as you're there, to present whatever the message your group has decided to present to everybody. Or you could have a Foods Not Bombs pop up at a protest that you support, the community supports, things like that. So I think I like to, as I imagine it, it's kind of like a vehicle on getting the community together and to focus on certain topics that we can actually affect while also feeding people vegan food. And ideally, if a side conversation is, yeah, everything you're eating here is plant-based and it's hearty and it's checked all your nutrient boxes, you know, I think that's cool. So it's like vegan adjacent, but it's not, the point of it isn't to fulfill a vegan specific need, I guess you could say.
So she was vegan before you guys had your second, correct?
Yes, we went vegan in the house on all at the same time.
Before your second was born?
Yeah, my oldest was...
Before she was even pregnant?
Yes, yeah,
okay.
Like a year before she was even pregnant.
Okay, because like, you know, I just kind of like to cover the fertility thing, so there was no problems there with fertility.
No.
Yeah.
No, with either one of them. No,
yeah,
it was quite
And no problems through pregnancy, right?
My first daughter, pre-vegan.
Yeah,
we had a very difficult birth experience. The pregnancy itself, at the time, we didn't notice a lot of things that we noticed with the second pregnancy. We remember it as a lot easier comparatively. The birth experience was really extreme. She had severe preeclampsia. We were in the hospital.
The first one?
My first one.
Yeah.
For like 5-6 days in total. It was insane. My daughter was born 6 weeks early. I was running a business at the time. I had just hired somebody so that I could train them up so that when my daughter was born in August, I could go and not have anything to worry about. I had just hired this person. He started the week my daughter was born, but I was in the hospital that whole week. Yeah. And so I'm like, it was just this crazy experience of like I called him the first day and was like, I'm in the hospital. I don't know what's going on. I'll pay you and we'll figure it out. And then I was just like, sorry, dude, I know you moved down here. I know you got a family too. I'm sorry. But so it's just this time in that it was insane. My wife was going severely going through it physically. I had no idea what was happening. This was during COVID. So the only support person she was allowed is me. We had a doula that was not able to, not that she wasn't willing, but she wasn't able to support us in the hospital. Although, to Nicole's credit, I'll give her a shout out. She was able to give my wife a really reaffirming call at a very important point during our first birth. So that experience carried with us into our second daughter. We had already made the change to vegan. We were a little more active just in general at this point. Our conversations were, okay, well, actually, a lot of the changes that we made with the vegan diet helps lower blood pressure naturally, which is good for preeclampsia worries. Helps do some other things like feeling a little better. You've lost weight even after having a baby. So we were like, all right, let's go with the second. Pregnancy was shitty for her. It was like she had and this is just I think it just comes down to pregnancies are some of the most unpredictable, complicated things that can happen to a person. Yeah. And so it's just a really difficult pregnancy. Our daughter was a little early, but not by much. 2 weeks this time. And she had issues, my wife had issues after my daughter was born, but not during the birth. And so we got out of the hospital. We got home. We were like, oh, this is great. And then that night, my wife started having, again, preeclampsia-like issues and had to go back for a few days. So it was this, both of our birthing experience have not been normal or easy. And I think that based on what I've seen through the both of them, I feel like my wife has felt better, had more energy, did more things while she was pregnant on the second time around. I think that comes from just general, we were in a better shape by that point. She was able to deliver without preeclampsia, which I was taking it as a big win for those few hours. And then she had to go back that night. And I don't know. I think that maybe for us it didn't make a difference. Maybe there's some things that she has underlying that are problematic. So it's an ongoing discussion for us right now, but it definitely, I think it didn't hurt at all based on how the pregnancy went. And the doctors, besides that Cal comment or the question, never said anything about it. So I was feeling.
So it sounds like they were very similar, maybe the second one was a little easier. Wasn't as 6 weeks early. It was 2 weeks earlier. Preeclampsia was later.
Well, I say easier. I want my wife is going to watch
very
this.
little.
Yeah.
Settle.
My wife is going to watch. So, the first birthing experience, we had no idea what was going on, as I alluded to. The second one, we had a doula this time. She was just amazing. My wife delivered. She was coherent this time, which I think may allude to not having thought it might have been better.
Okay.
She was more coherent this time, and really like fucking did it on some just like I've seen it twice now. I can't imagine. Oh man, I'm so proud of her, but I don't know if the veganism had a effect.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know. I mean, because it's good to know that it's essentially the same thing, and there's not much of a difference. If anything, potentially advantageous.
Yeah.
But now, as far as like breastfeeding, how's that going?
Yeah. So for our first, we didn't do a lot of breastfeeding, and again, we weren't vegan at that time. But we were using soy already. I don't know why my wife chose to do soy formula instead of cow's milk, but I was just with it. I didn't fight the decision, because I was like, well, she's replacing her breast milk, so I'm gonna let her have this realm. I'm gonna help with the bottles, I'm gonna help with the feedings, all that. But she had the soy from the beginning as well. So even though she wasn't vegan, I think genuinely probably only had like chewed on meat before, like at a table, and then had some yogurt in her life.
Your first daughter.
My first daughter, yeah. But so she also had tongue ties and lip ties and some issues, so she didn't breastfeed much at all. The second time around, my wife did an amazing stint, like 6 solid months of pumping with some breastfeeding. And so our daughter, for the first 6 months of her life, was on no formula, all breast milk, we used to make jokes about it all the time, like the 100% vegan, and like hold it up and like pretend it was some fancy, which it was amazing, like she was producing it. Breast milk.
Yeah.
Like she pumped it, like we had a bottle ready, it was amazing. Which it is, I mean, it is gold to me, like that stuff was, but we've just recently transitioned to vegan formula for her, just because the breastfeeding and pumping stress is insane for a woman. So she was having a hard time of it, but really pushing through. And I just told her, I was like, babe, we can do the formula. We can do like, what do you want to do? And so we kind of just started transitioning out of the pumping, so that I don't know. I mean, women need to get their body back. Like in the sense of like that they need to feel like they own it again, not that they need to change their looks for men. I'm not trying to imply that. I'm saying like she needs to feel like it's her body again.
Back for her, not not others.
Yeah, I need to just let me throw that out quick.
I didn't even catch it. I'm glad you did.
Yeah. No, I was like, oh no.
Earlier, I'd asked you if you felt like it was the most protective and healthy way to raise your children, and you agreed, and you explained a little bit as to why you feel that's the case. So now I'm curious, do you feel like this should be maybe the default diet that everybody should be raising their children?
I would love to live in that world, because it seemed, in my mind, there would be so many problems that are solved. Mainly being, I think that a vegan world is like climate change, not so much an issue. Obviously, we still got to worry about emissions on certain things, but like the impact that animal agriculture has is insane. And so that being out of the window makes me feel, would literally, I have such anxiety about the life my daughters are going to live because of the way the planet's going. And how for generations people didn't listen, or people did listen, but the majority of people didn't do anything about it. And it is insane to me that they literally just shot their kids' lives away. To me, there's nothing more important than setting my kids up for success. And I can't do that if I'm contributing to certain things in certain industries. So I think I'm answering your question, but a roundabout way. I forgot the actual wording of it.
Do you feel like it's important that others do this as well? I mean, if it's the healthiest way and best way for their future.
Yeah. So if you don't care about animals, and now mind you, I love animals. I do not want to take care of a cow myself. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go work on a farm and work on the sanctuaries. I will volunteer, I'm sure, in my future at a sanctuary every once in a while. But like, that's not my desire. So I'm vegan for the animals, but my passion and the work I want to do is about the environment, because it is the most important aspect of how we can all help each other. And this question is hard for me to answer because I think it's the only thing I care about in like my kids growing up in a good world, or like in the best of the world as I can give them. I wish more people were vegan so that the world would look better, and then I think if more people were vegan, there'd probably other side things would start to figure themselves out, because people are just generally caring more about their actions. So it's like, okay, well, if I'm vegan and I don't do this for the animals, then why am I going to support this industry that also treats people terribly, or like this company that is known for underpaying workers or for doing shady shit? Like, I care about animals, but I also care about everything else, in the sense of like, I want to do the right thing as often as possible. Mm-hmm. And I think if everybody approached it from that sense of like a vegan society, I think that couldn't look bad. Like, it couldn't look worse than a lot of the stuff we got right now.
Yeah. It's like, I like to say, I'm vegan for every reason. Imagine.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, once you hear the health argument, like, are you listening if you're not?
Yeah.
Like, you're missing what we're saying?
Yeah, because these non-vegan, or these, when people support animal agriculture, they're supporting the most violent job, the most atrocious living circumstances for animals, the leading cause of deforestation, desertification, aquatic dead zones, species extinction, antibiotic-resistant bacteria, deadly pathogens and zoonotic diseases. I mean, it just goes on and on.
Yeah, like right now, there's a bird flu right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, nobody's talking about it. It's going through, it's in the milk right now. Like, I saw an article, they have, and I'll send it to you so that you can at least post it in the link. But they found that the pasteurization process does not fully eliminate this virus, which is not a direct cow to human transmittal yet, but like, that's where it starts, right? Like, you're ingesting this.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet, but Plant-Based News put something out, dairy is dead. I haven't seen it yet. I wonder if it's related to that. But
it could be. I mean, dairy, the dairy industry and the avian industry in general, I think, are the places where we're going to get our next pathogen from. And right now, the bird flu is going around like crazy, because it's a bird flu and birds go around like crazy. But yeah, it's I've been following it on. I'm a fan of Reddit sometimes, and there's a whole subreddit just about this one that's going around.
Did you notice any physiological, mental, or emotional changes after going vegan?
I feel like the answer is yes. So I started my overall health journey about 8 months before I went vegan. I started playing tennis because we got in on a Groupon, and my wife we just closed our business down. Like, we just stopped operating, but we're in the process of actually doing all of the things to properly close the business. So things were stressful, and she found this tennis class, and it was like 9 o'clock on Tuesdays or something. And we were gonna make it work. We're gonna show up to it, and just like, we had this idea of like showing up, and if we didn't like it, just making fun of people that play tennis and then leaving and never coming back, right? And it turns out tennis is so fun. Yeah. I love tennis. It gets you so active. I hadn't felt my heart rate pump like that since I was in the Marine Corps, and like, it's such a fun way to get out there and play. So I got really into tennis for like 8 or 9 months before going vegan. That helped me start losing a lot of weight. So I started out on this journey about 270. 276 was the highest I weighed. About 8 months in, I think I was around 230, 220 consistently. And then I made the switch to vegan. It was within the year I was down to 185, which was my goal, which was mindful dieting, also vegan eating, also activity, not just vegan eating. But I noticed my energy levels were better, I was able to go play tennis and then come home and chase my daughter around because she's, running at that time. Or we did a lot of yard work at our house at the time. Our backyard was so beautiful. So spending a lot of time out there, having all this energy it was more, I wanted to go do things with my family more. I hated the beach less, honestly. I don't think it was a direct correlation, but I think that there's a lot of things in my life that got better because of how I was viewing them, which is part of the reason why I wanted to get better in the first place. So I think it did have a direct correlation, actually.
So it sounds like your energy levels got better, and it maybe helps with you reaching your weight goals.
Yeah, at the time. And then baby number 2, I bumped back up a little bit. I'm trying to slowly get back to. I think I'm going to try and shoot for 200. 185 was pretty ambitious to stay at. It wasn't very fun, but I didn't.
So what does an ideal day of eating look like now?
An ideal day of eating. So mind you, I am a stay-at-home dad. So it is an ideal day of eating would be usually a little snack in the morning. I like fruit or crisp vegetable, like a crisp bite type vibe, like a fruit or a celery or something like that. If I eat breakfast, which is very rare, because I'm usually that's when my wife and my oldest are getting out of the house to go to work and camp, and then I'm usually feeding the baby or getting her ready to eat. Most of the time I'm skipping breakfast. Lunch is generally going to be leftovers of the night before, which could be, I'm cooking enchiladas, tofu fried rice. Recently I made a no meatloaf.
Lentils or something?
No, it was Impossible Meat or Beyond, one of the two. It was on clearance at our Harris Teeter. There's a Harris Teeter here that almost every time we go into it, they have either Impossible or Beyond on clearance for like $1.50. Right? Yeah, and I mean seriously, and that's probably the only mock meat we eat consistently. But I'm like, we got 3 packs of this. 2 of them have to stay in the freezer at all times. I love the mock meat, so I can't lie. But anyway, and then lunches or leftover dinner, or sometimes I'll make myself. I honestly love oatmeal. A good oatmeal. My wife bought my daughter recently the dinosaur oatmeals that when you heat them up, the little dinosaur eggs will melt. It's brown sugar flavored, and so it's just brown sugar. They'll melt, and on the inside are dinosaur sprinkles, and so you get to stir it up and find the dinosaurs. I love maple and brown sugar oatmeal. I think I ate the whole box before my daughter got any. She got some of the first box, but.
You ever heard of groat oats?
Groat oats?
Groat oats.
I don't think so, no.
It's the whole grain. Then you have still cut, and then you have rolled. And
I've heard of still cut and rolled. I haven't had a groat, yeah. I have in my cabinet some proper rolled oats that I make not as often as I make the instant oatmeal, but I like oatmeal for a snack if I'm feeling snacky. And then dinner time is whatever we're making. Again, recipes I said earlier, I like to make some soups. I wish I brought the damn cookbook now.
You got a certain cookbook?
Well, my wife is making it. So,
she's making it.
Yeah. So my dad, he put together a family cookbook, and so everybody has one, but I can't use any of it because it's all, Southern food. Everything has at minimum butter in it. And so, which we have butter. So I've veganized some of those recipes and put them in our new cookbook, which is the same color binder and everything. And one of my goals is to have a vegan cookbook that I can present to the family for one Christmas, maybe next year or something, and have no one's going to use it, but we'll see. And then, so she's making a cookbook. That's the one we work from the most. But I have the Veganomicon. I made one of the chilies out of there.
I think we've got that.
I made the red, white, and blue chili or something like that. Red, white, and bean chili.
Nice.
Yeah.
So do you try to cover all of the whole food categories such as legumes, greens, grains, fruits, veggies, mushrooms, nuts?
Absolutely.
Seeds, herbs?
I could do much better on seeds and nuts, but everything else we do. My daughter loves peanut butter, which I know isn't always the best because sometimes the oil additives we're trying to clean up.
There might be a little bit of aflatoxins.
Right now we're in the stage of trying to slowly clean out some of the simple, swapping out the peanut butter that we have been getting for a better peanut butter that everybody in the family will still eat. Because we've bought a few that just go and left because they are too gritty or different reasons, right? I know one liked them. So we're in that. It's a much more fun part than trying to flip the whole kitchen upside down.
The reason why I mentioned the groat oats is because they're easier to get those and still cut and maybe even the rolled, I don't know. But in organic, the organic has less likely to have the glyphosate and stuff like that. So if you could get them organic, just like to plug that. But I guess, you've only been in this 2 years, so there is a learning curve. A lot of the longtime vegans, they're still learning, but the most successful ones are the most whole food ones. And they eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, dinner like a pauper.
I've heard that one too.
So you might want to kind of eventually.
I used to do
because you're talking about skipping breakfast.
When I was in the Marine Corps, I used to do intermittent fasting, and I really enjoyed it.
But you could do that in the evening.
Yeah. But I do enjoy breakfast foods more than dinners. But I think my family would hate it if I stopped caring about dinners as much. They'd be like, I don't care about this breakfast.
It is tricky. It was interesting. Have you ever heard of Plant Chompers?
Yeah, I love that dude. Yeah.
Because he's into the environmental stuff too.
Yeah, some of his videos is what first got me. That's him talking about it in a health video. Was like, okay, what is that about? I love. His videos are amazing. I think I've actually sent his videos the most to other people.
Nice, yeah.
I like all the Joey Carbstrong and all that's for me, but
And then he has one recently with a 100-year-old doctor who, and he eats that way: breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and then that's it. He's done for the rest of the day. And then Brian Johnson, a lot of these people that are moving in that direction. It's going to be interesting because most people celebrate dinner, it's like this big festive end of the day thing. It's like, now what are you going to do? Like, without dinner, like, what would you do?
I'm going to go sleep.
But anyway, it's cool to plug that stuff because it's risky putting noobs out there.
Yeah, well, I talked to an old coworker about this. I made a comment offhand about how privileged I was to be a vegan, and then she jumped right on it thinking I meant privileged in like the sense of like financially privileged and she was like, I'm so glad you said something like about the privilege it takes. And I was like, I'm talking about I took the time to read everything. Like if you don't read everything, you don't know that you can't just eat rice, and like you might be in it for the right reason, but you're gonna get sick if you're not eating right. And so I was talking, and I was like, how the fuck am I gonna explain this? So I just let that one ride at that point, but I didn't try and correct the privilege comment in the moment, but I was just like, that's not what I meant at all. But the education is, to your point, is so important when it comes to keeping people healthy.
The simpler you make it, just beans, greens, grains, or just legumes, really. Those are just simple, inexpensive foods. Yeah. Really. I mean, you don't even, speaking of privilege, these are the Hispanic paradox, different stuff like that shows a lower socioeconomic status people or have some better health outcomes because they're eating healthier whole foods. Do you have any last minute encouraging words you want to share or a quote or anything like that?
I didn't prepare anything.
Nobody usually does.
Yeah. There's a book series I really love. Brandon Sanderson has written quite a lot of books, but one of the series, it's called The Stormlight Archives. And there's like a motto for the knights in that book: life before death, strength before weakness, journey before destination. And that, ever since I read it the first time in that book series, which is actually pre-vegan, it's always stuck out to me as like a little moniker that I kind of keep up with. I like it because, it sounds nice. But strength before weakness is one that I like to think about in the sense of like, if you have the ability to help people and you like the strength to do it, then do it. And like, you got to do it before people are even. Yourself. Yeah, exactly. Like you got to help people if you got it, and I'm gonna try and do the same thing. And if we all do it, then maybe the oceans aren't boiling by the time my daughter takes her kids to the beach. So
you're making me think of another question I used to ask people. I don't really ask anymore. Do you have any regrets?
I honestly don't have regrets. I wish that I would have known about veganism sooner, but I also probably wouldn't have considered it as much, or like even given a second glance. I actually made a comment on my Facebook. If you had asked me to eat a vegan pizza a week before I went vegan, I would have scoffed at you because like someone else had posted some. But so as far as regrets go, nothing specific that comes to mind. But I would have done things a little differently and like a little earlier, maybe less of an impact type thing, but I wouldn't have.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I was thinking about that is because one person said their regret is that they didn't become an advocate sooner.
You know what? There's a Joey Carbstrong video that I watched about 6 months ago now. That is what completely motivated me to start with the Earth Day booth that we had, because he came out and his video is essentially like, when Gary Yourofsky retired is when I got motivated. I'm not retiring, but like, just get motivated. He did a much better speech. But I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. And then so, definitely, I have not been super active yet, but I'm very excited to do more. Tomorrow I'm actually got roped into, but I want to do it. The local city council has a meeting where I'm going to be the speaker about why we should quit using horse-drawn carriages downtown for tourism and stuff. So we'll see where all that goes. Maybe we'll make some waves. Hopefully we get those horses to not have to pull those carriages around.
Last speaker is Mr. Alex Jolly, who will be petitioning to end horse-drawn carriage use within the city.
Good evening, council members, members of the public. My name is Alex Jolly, and I'm speaking on behalf of more than 2,000 community members that have signed a petition to ban horse-drawn carriages in our city streets. We believe that Wilmington needs to get on the right side of the issue sooner rather than later. Horse-drawn carriages are cruel, unsafe for the animals and pedestrians, and not the best way to keep our downtown culture vibrant and attractive to tourists. I would hate to visit a city and see a horse collapse while pulling a cart, which is exactly what any tourist downtown would have seen a few weeks ago during an incident with a Springbrook Farms carriage. Regardless if the horse was injured, spooked, or something else entirely, it is not something we want happening within our beautiful and historic downtown. Other cities around the country and the world have also banned and considering bans of horse-drawn carriages. Panama City, Palm Beach, Key West, Asheville, Chicago, and many more have passed bans that are currently in effect. If we look at the totality of the evidence from other cities, an incident involving the injury or death of a horse or pedestrian is just a matter of time. Cruelty to animals goes beyond actively abusing an animal in the moment. A business using the guise of a horse sanctuary to profit off the work of these retired horses are doing is cruel. Making a horse brave traffic, walk on hard surfaces all day, and pull a heavy cart is not how Wilmington residents want to see our city allow animals to be treated. We ask that the city and the current business owners of the carriage companies work with us, the public, in getting these horses off of our city streets and into a real sanctuary life. Help us get the workers new positions and come up with a better way to entertain tourists and residents in our beautiful city. We look forward to working with the council to get these horses in proper retirement, make our city streets safer, and continue to maintain Wilmington's riverfront as a walkable community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I have a video with Brees Clark. He's out of Michigan. He was a horse trainer, and he went vegan, and that video is going to be really cool for anybody who wants to know more about the horse stuff, because that was his life. He grew up doing that, and from a child, and that was like his identity. And he just completely had to, change his identity because of that. But that's I finally have one in the can for that kind of topic. You might, I don't know if it'd be helpful at all, but the horse carriage is a little different, But.
Well, I think tomorrow is just a 5-minute, introducing it to the city council, and I think the next step is the longer, there's a petition floating around.
Is it Amish people or something, or what is it?
No, it's the dude, from my understanding, he actually gets the horses that retire from the Amish. And it's a specific type of horse, is the only type of horse he gets. And I've heard that they come from the Amish after they're done working them, and then they just pull the thing around. And supposedly it's a rescue, and they just have the horses on rotation, and they work once a month, or like a month on, 2 months, all this. Okay. It's crazy. Well, why are we doing all that? Why do we have the horses here in the first place?
But, is he charging people to ride them or something?
Yeah, to ride in the carriage.
Yeah.
And then last week or the week before now, there was a horse that fell over. There was speculation about why. I don't even actually know at the moment what the exact story is, but it's just it's going to help bring into light the issue of why we still have them in the city. We're going to present hey, other cities have done this about this. Why don't we just do it different? Hopefully we make some waves, and we'll see where it goes. But
so how can people find you online? Do you have anything you want to throw out there in that regard?
So yeah, I'll throw out, there's a online group have been involved with called Challenge 22. People who are thinking about going vegan. It's a really good way, free, to get inside of a Facebook group or even a WhatsApp group of vegans who have been doing it a while, and to get mentorship and things like that. I've done a few rounds of mentorship with that. Nothing too crazy and spectacular, but it's been fun. Find out locally to you what you can and what speaks to you. So again, for me, I'm not going to spend most of my effort at the sanctuary. I'm going to spend most of my effort out making changes, speaking out against the horses, or ideally the food's not bombs thing, feeding people as well as telling a message. Find what you want to do, whether that's hound people on Facebook, whether it's, I do in my free time as well sometimes. I don't
Help
hound
me in
people.
the comment section.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think that I was exposed to veganism off of comments on Reddit. So I think there is something to be said for social media activism. Although I don't think that it's something that everybody has to do, because it can be easy to be like, I'm going to do the social media stuff.
Yeah, find what you're good at and try how to apply that.
Yeah, exactly. And
It sounds
get
like
connected.
you're doing a variety of things. That's cool.
I don't know how, dude.
Yeah.
But
how can they find out more about you?
I don't got much out there, honestly.
You have an Instagram or something?
I do.
Tap into?
I will send you the links. I have a new TikTok and a new Instagram that I made a few weeks ago. Okay. So there's nothing out there yet, but I don't want to release my personal Instagram.
No, that's fine.
But other than that, I'm on Facebook. If you're in Wilmington watching this and you're not on the Facebook group, Wilmington Vegan, hop on. But other than that, I think...
well, hopefully I'll have something we could put in the description below.
Yes,
yeah.
I'll try and have something for you.
Okay, excellent.
And then maybe some B-roll of my kid jumping around gymnastics class, as I told you about.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. You didn't mention them doing that. So what kind of activities did the kids get involved in that you might be able to provide me B-roll for?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So my oldest daughter, she's the only one doing stuff right now. She's every week so right now she's in camp, but she also does ninja class, which is like a gymnastic precursor. Wow. It focuses on I think the gymnastics is very split based on sex. So like all the men's skills are like really strength based, and all the women's skills are also very, very strength based. But like the skills are different, and I think the skills that this class preps for are like specifically some men's skills. But the class is all boys except for my daughter, and it's all this like climbing up this big warped wall and crazy stuff. And she's just doing it right along with them, and like at the top of the warped wall, screaming for her mom across the gymnastics place, across the gym. It's been fun. Hiking, we do a lot of hiking. She did a 3-mile hike on her own. Or obviously we were with her, but like she hiked it out the whole way because we were carrying the baby. I was carrying the backpack, and I told her, I was like, if I pick you up, we're gonna have to do a shorter hike next time. And the shorter hike, she doesn't like it. And so her and her friend hiked that whole thing. This other family that we spend time with. The pool activities, water, she loves swimming, or she's like 95% swimming, which is I think the scariest percentage for a child to swim at, because you're like, can I look away? No, I can't look away actually. So yeah, it's just tense the whole time. But all the activities that she can do, she's in them. She's got energy. She's running me ragged. It's awesome.
And are you gonna homeschool or?
No, so right now she's actually in a school called Friend School, which my wife found, and we were trying to get out of the daycare we were in. She found Friend School. They're Montessori, they're like a Quaker-based teaching, which I was a little concerned with at first because I'm not religious. So I was like, what is that about? Quakers really believe in education for education's sake, it seems like. So there's not a religious spin on it, but it's a very free and open school, and like she loves it. It's amazing. I might do some homeschooling in the future, but I've never planned on it. Like I'm not averse to it. Yeah. But hopefully we'll be doing some other stuff in homeschooling.
You're not the first vegan parent that's done the Montessori thing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that the Venn diagrams overlap a lot more than people think, and I think veganism, if you're talking about anything related to compassion or kindness or caring, the vegan diet, the circle and the circle about the other thing have a lot more in common than you think. But so I was like, Quakers, I'm liking a lot of what they're saying. This school sounds cool. There's no like religious iconography anywhere or teaching or anything like that. So I was like, let's send it.
That's interesting. I know a lifelong vegan who's about my age, and she lives in Quakerstown. And when I was visiting, they were telling me all about the Quakers and stuff.
As a population in America, they were one of the first abolitionists. Like as a group, they were vocal about their abolitionism during the slave trade.
Well, man, this has been cool. This was like really spontaneously came up. I'm so glad you
Yeah.
were able to get in the mix, and
Me too. This
and
has
we
been
were
cool.
able to use this spot here.
Yes. Thank you,
for-
Maude. Thank you.
Plug for Maude here for letting us use his humble abode here.
Yeah, love it, love it.
I guess I'll let you get back to your kid and give your kids, I should say. And
Yeah, I gotta run home, pick my baby up from my wife right now, and then go pick my oldest up from camp while my wife goes to work finally. So it's
maybe I
gonna
can
be-
get her in the mix one day. And
Yeah, and then get ready for bowling after. Maude
yeah.
over here, I see him.
nice. Well, thanks again, and let me give
Yeah,
you a big
thank you.
fist 5. Don't forget your tether.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, man.